Norimoto dominated with 5 perfect innings as part of an overwhelming pitching performance as Samurai Japan made history with a combined no-hitter to secure a series win against the Major League All-Stars. Tonight, Chris Capuano tries to get the Major Leaguers in the win column next on MLB Network. Welcome to the Tokyo Dome in Japan for Game 4 of the 2014 Japan All-Star Series. Tonight, some of the finest players Japan has to offer square off against the Major League Baseball All-Stars, led on the mound by former All-Star Chris Capuano. Showcases some of the world's best right here on MLB Network. With Mark DeRosa and Paul Severino, shades of 1990 in Game 3. Japan secured its first series win in 24 years, and that was also the last time we saw a no-hitter in this All-Star Series. And Mark, the pitching was impressive.
It was absolutely awesome last night. The Major League Baseball ran into a 4-headed buzzsaw. Started off with Norimoto going 5 strong, showing you a good fastball, good cutter. And then here comes Nishi for 2 strong. And then you get Submarine and Makita in there. Last thing you want to see. And Nishino able to close the door, getting Justin Morneau to ground out to preserve the combined no-hitter. There's only been 11 combined no-nos in Major League Baseball history. So last night at the Tokyo Dome, history was definitely made.
You take a look at these line scores for these guys. Unbelievable. 5 perfect innings to set the tone for Takahiro Norimoto. Major League All-Stars have gone 31 at-bats without a hit, and it'll probably get tougher as they will be without Robinson Cano, who broke his toe last night.
Yeah, this is terrible. I mean, probably if he's playing in the postseason, you see him in there today. But being that he's over in Japan, he's probably heading back to the States as we speak. We're going to get a solid look at Jose Altuve, the man of 225 hits and an American League batting title. But if things are going to change over there, Paul, something on this graphic needs to change, and the bats better wake up. But let's tip our caps to Japanese pitchers so far. They've been absolutely awesome. You can say what you want, make all the excuses you want for the Major League Baseball All-Star team. But bottom line is that Japanese pitching staff is getting it done.
They're pitching to a 1.33 ERA through these first 3 games of the Japan All-Star Series. They've already secured the win, up 3 games to none with 2 left on the docket. Excited for Game 4 as Shintaro Fujinami gets the start for Samurai Japan. Lineups at first pitch next. This officially now, the results since 1986 in this All-Star Series, as the Major League All-Stars still looking for their first win in this 2014 version, but it's a series win for Japan for the first time since 1990 when they won that best-of-8 series, throwing a tie, and that's how they won it 4-3. But this has really been an amazing job by the Samurai Japan squad to come out, play some terrific baseball, great offense, great defense, great pitching to this point. And really, in watching these games, no surprise that they've got a 3-0 edge through these opening 3 games.
No, it really isn't. Just the way they've been able to throw the ball. It all started with Kenta Maeda in Game 1, leading it off. There's been a lot of great pitching performances coming together last night with the combined no-hitter. But look for the U.S. to put their best foot forward. They didn't go over there just to have fun and get a free trip to Japan and be paid for it. They want to play baseball as well. So we're going to see some guys. We see John Farrell's already shook up the lineup a little bit. With the loss of Robinson Cano, you're going to see some new guys in there, and hopefully Chris Capuano can feed off the exhibition start of 5 or 6 days ago.
They're enjoying everything but the baseball at this point. Everything Japan has to offer. As you take a look at the lineup now for Samurai Japan, a different look for them as well. We've seen Sho Nakata in left through the first 3 games, but he gets the start at first base in his usual cleanup spot.
Yeah, Sho Nakata took Jeremy Guthrie deep last night, and he's no stranger to going playing long ball. He had 269 with 27 bombs, and it's his 3rd straight 20-homer season.
So some defense changes for the Major League Baseball All-Stars. Samurai Japan's got some changes as well. And look, they're all exhibition games, of course, but now we know that Japan has already wrapped up this series to begin with. So now these last 2 games, we won't see Sal Perez in the lineup. We've seen him a ton throughout this regular season. Alcides Escobar gets the night off as well. Let's take a look at the rest of the defense behind Chris Capuano. For this Major League All-Star bunch, Chris Carter, who started in left field in the exhibition game against the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants, is back in left. Ben Zobrist is in center field to give Dexter Fowler a day off. Yasiel Puig at right. Evan Longoria, a father for the 2nd time. Congrats to him. He's back at third. Eduardo Nunez, Jose Altuve, Justin Morneau is at first base, and Drew Butera catching his old teammate Chris Capuano behind the plate. So we are ready to go as Tetsudo Yamada steps in to lead things off. Game 4 is underway. First pitch swinging back into the seats. It was Yamada at first base who fielded the final out of the combined no-hitter in Game 3, and he moves over to second base to give Kikuchi the night off, and Kikuchi also played some slick defense. I mean, apologize for kind of repeating ourselves, but the pitching was terrific. The defense has been great, and really the Samurai Japan at-bats have been tremendous through these first 3 games too.
What Major League roster couldn't use Yamada right now? 324 with 29 homers. He can play first, second, short, third. He can pretty much do anything you want. Gives so much flexibility to Team Samurai Japan.
He's 3 for 6 so far in this series with an RBI. As Chris Capuano, 2nd time we've seen him in Japan, started that exhibition game against the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants, and now deals to Yamada, low and in. Count even up, 2 balls and 2 strikes. In that game, 4 innings and a hit, a walk and 3 strikeouts, and he hadn't started in a little over a month.
And that's, Paul, that's the thing you worry about. Fastball command, being able to set up his secondary pitches. This isn't a power type guy. This isn't a guy that's going to wow you with his fastball. He's going to nickel and dime you. He's going to get you in that rocking chair, work this heater in and out, and then start going backdoor breaking balls, soft changeup. So for him to have as much command as he had is very impressive. Look for him to build on that tonight.
Be a 2-2 pitch to the leadoff hitter Yamada. Pops this one behind home plate, but Butera runs out of room. Count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Capuano wearing a Yankee uniform despite the fact that he is currently a free agent. And he's been around the league long enough that scouts and teams know what he has to offer. But it can't hurt to pitch well.
Absolutely. This is a nice little showcase for him. He very similar to Yamada on the position player standpoint, a utility type pitcher. This is a guy you could slot right into the back end of your rotation. There he locks Yamada up with a good 4-seam heater in. But you could pencil this guy into the back end of your rotation. He could be the long man out of the pen, give you spot starts. He could be a lefty out of the pen to come in for multiple innings. So he could do a lot of different things for an organization.
He's already pitched for 6 organizations in 10 years in the major leagues.
And I got to believe he's worked with Drew Butera before, playing it for the Dodgers. So they should have some comfort level going back and forth.
Yuki Yanagita steps in. Had a big night in Game 2, but 3 for 12 in the series, a couple of extra base hits and 4 RBIs. He's played a lot of center field, but he is in right for Game 4. On the ground to Jose Altuve. There are 2 out in the first. Let's take a look at the umpires. Of course, 2 from Major League Baseball and 2 from Nippon Professional Baseball. Masao Yanada is behind home plate. Mike Winters from the big leagues is at first. He was behind the plate for the no-hitter last night. Kinji Noshimoto is at second base, and Chris Conroy over at third. As Seiichi Uchikawa steps in, 2 for 9 in the series, and the DH once again here in Game 4.
Yeah, here's my guy, Paul. Seiichi Uchikawa, 6-time All-Star, Japan Series MVP this past season, 2-time batting champ, matte black helmet wearer, looking to go deep.
So Butera and Capuano have worked together before.
Very rarely.
Yes.
Very rare.
One big league inning. However, they have, shared a clubhouse. I'm sure there have been bullpen sessions along the way as well. And frankly, for as impressive as Sal Perez has been since spring training, I don't know what's left in the tank for that guy.
Will someone get him on a plane to his couch as soon as possible? 158 games started behind the plate, including the postseason, coming into the Japan series. It's a lot of baseball.
It is. It's a long season. One of 4 Kansas City Royals who played until the last day of the Major League season. Of course, Game 7 of the World Series. No San Francisco Giants on the roster. They're all resting comfortably, sharing that World Series trophy. Saw Mike Morse watching TV with his buddy, the trophy the other day.
And right there, that's what Chris Capuano's got to be able to do. He's got to show these guys he's not afraid to come in with that 4-seamer to set up the outer half of the plate.
The 2-2 pitch to Uchikawa will be the 15th of the first inning for Chris Capuano, and the last of the first inning for Chris Capuano. A couple of strikeouts, and we'll see the Major League All-Stars in the bottom of the first. Farrell wrote down for Game 4 this Japan All-Star Series a much different look with some different pieces in the lineup as well. Justin Morneau back out there. He struggled in this series, though.
Yeah, Justin Morneau coming off a National League batting champion season. .319 with 17 homers and 82 ribbies in Coors Field. They're going to need his bat to get going. He's 1 for 12 in the series so far, that one hit being a long ball.
It was a long home run to straightaway center field, but yeah, other than that, he's really scuffled, but frankly, so is this entire Major League offense. We're going to look at Shintaro Fujinami here for Game 4. 3.53 ERA in 163 innings with the Hanshin Tigers this year. Another youngster who can run it up there in the mid to upper 90s.
Shintaro Fujinami is a fan favorite, Paul. Top vote getter by the fans in 2013 to get him into the All-Star series. And I listened to Carlos Santana talk, and talked about how a lot of the Japanese pitchers were attacking them and beating them with sliders and split fingers down in the dirt. And we did see that earlier, but there are a couple guys on this roster that can run some fastballs into the upper 90s. Fujinami is definitely one of them.
And that's what we've talked about a lot. Just maybe the lack of timing, or the trying to get your timing back. So when these guys are adding and subtracting, that's not doing you any favors.
Yeah, usually you come into a series like this after shutting the motor off at the end of the year and you got to kick it back on. You either get hot right out of the gate and end up having a great series, or you run into a buzzsaw like the Major League Baseball All-Star team has, where they find themselves no one's hitting. I mean, Evan Longoria, 3 for 8, has been their most productive hitter to this point. After that, it tapers off dramatically.
When you say nobody is hitting, not even the guy who had 225 hits in the regular season, Jose Altuve, who is leading off and playing second base with Robinson Cano out with a non-displaced fracture in his right pinky toe. Will resume baseball activities in 3 or 4 weeks. But still, probably the last thing that you want for any of your guys, even for Samurai Japan, frankly, in a series like this, to get anybody hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I look at it is he flies back to the States and it cuts into his preparation for the 2015 season. He's going to have to heal that. He's not going to be able to get in a weight room or do anything on a track mobility-wise until that toe heals.
But a good secondary option at second base for Jose Altuve, despite the fact that he's 0 for 5 in this series. His RBI was an RBI groundout a couple of nights ago. And down to the count, 0-2 to Fujinami. In there for a called strike 3.
Sometimes the best pitch in the game is a backup slider. That's exactly what Jose Altuve got right there. Backed up right in the middle of the plate. Kind of caught Jose Altuve off guard a little bit. Strike 3.
That'll bring up Yasiel Puig, who's been moved up in the order for John Farrell's bunch. First pitch swinging, line drive, and it gets down for a base hit. And it'll be extra bases for Yasiel Puig. So after the combined no-hitter in Game 3, it takes to their second at-bat in Game 2. Or rather, in Game 4 to get their hit.
Look at Robinson Cano. He wants the umpires to give him the ball. Like it's his first hit in the big leagues. Now you see right there, and you saw it with Altuve coming out of the gates 0-0 swinging, trying to ambush, get on top of Fujinami's fastball. Yasiel Puig doing the same thing and hit an absolute laser into the gap for a double.
That's got to feel good. I mean, again, it had been 31 at-bats. These guys are tired after a long season, never mind the flight over to Japan and all the travel that's gone on with that. They've all really enjoyed the culture, which has been great. And that is a base hit down the line and toward the corner for Justin Morneau. That'll score Yasiel Puig easily. And back-to-back extra base hits for the Major League All-Stars, an early 1-0 lead.
Well, I guess we know what John Farrell's meeting was about before the game, if he had one. Hey, guys, I want you swinging early in the count and being aggressive. Right there, you see Justin Morneau jump on what appeared to be a hanging slider. Yeah, just spinning right there in the middle of the plate. You don't get away with that to one of the better hitters in our sport.
Just past the dive of Nakata over at first for an RBI double for Justin Morneau. His third RBI of the series. And a 1-0 lead for the Major League All-Stars. As Evan Longoria will step in with a runner in scoring position and one away here in the first. Longoria, there was some question as to whether or not he would stay with the ball club. His wife gave birth to their second child, so congratulations to Evan Longoria. Did so on the other side of the globe, which is never easy.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely not easy. Probably knew coming into this series that could potentially happen. It'll be a cool story later on.
Right.
Maybe not right now.
Down to the count, no balls and 2 strikes. It takes inside 1 and 2.
Back-to-back extra base hits for Major League Baseball All-Stars. They only had 4 extra base hits coming into tonight's game. So hopefully this is a sign of something to come offensively. See if Longo can break out.
Longoria on the ground to the right side. It'll advance Morneau. And there are 2 away here in the bottom of the first. Let's take a look at the defense for Samurai Japan behind Fujinami. Again, a bit of a different look from what we've seen. Left to right in the outfield, Tsutsugu, Maru, and Yanagita. Matsuda, Imamiya, Yamada, Nakata third to first with Kobayashi behind the plate. So this 1-0 lead for the Major League All-Stars is their first since the exhibition game. And that was the night where they connected on 3 home runs. Evan Longoria had a grand slam. Sal Perez, Dexter Fowler, all homered. But since then, the offense, they broke out for 8 runs that night. Since then, the offense has just been really scuffling. As Carlos Santana steps in, the DH 0 for 5 in this series. First pitch swinging. Down the right field line. Foul. And after, you just saw Norimoto, after Norimoto and his gang just kind of lulled him to sleep last night. Back and forth, add, subtract. It's almost like get out there and just start swinging, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? At least you're not down 0-2.
Well, you come into these series, and you know what? No excuse, because they're coming off a 162-game schedule, and for most of these guys, well, some of these guys played in the postseason as well, so they just got off the field a week ago. But I always go back to going into spring training. How do you want to start once the games get underway? Do you want to be aggressive at the plate? Do you want to see pitches and get your timing? So you fight with that stuff in spring training, and not making excuses, but these are guys they've never seen before. You don't know the arm actions of sliders, splits, what their fastball likes to do at the plate. So I'll cut them a little bit of slack, but this is some of the best hitters in our sport, so they don't get too much of a pass.
Good point. 1-1 to Santana upstairs, 2-1. And to that point about just grip it and rip it first pitch, Major League average this year on first pitches was over 330. Now, I don't know how that translates to a 5-game series against.
Well, it helps with pace of play.
Yes. Well, yeah, there's that. The 2-1 to Santana inside, 3 balls and a strike. Santana's been the DH, also took over for Evan Longoria defensively. One of those guys that adds some positional flexibility for John Farrell's team. Can play first, can play third, obviously can DH.
And throughout the course of the season, Paul, you know the guys you're facing. You have video on them. You go in there and you watch video of comparables to yourself, their last 2 starts, every at-bat you've ever had against a guy, and you compile a great game plan. And you go up to the plate kind of letting the game dictate which game plan you're going to pull out. The runner's in scoring position. Am I leading off an inning? You take everything into consideration. The score, the ballpark. I got to believe these guys aren't sitting up at night looking at video of the Japanese pitchers they're going to be facing.
You might be right. They have a 1-0 lead, though, after back-to-back doubles. Yasiel Puig got it started first hit of the day, and Justin Morneau a ribby double to bring him home. 1-0 Major League All-Star. Mark DeRosa, we've talked about the major leaguers enjoying their time away from the field and enjoying the culture in Japan. Dexter Fowler, Hector Santiago, Randy Choate taking part in a tea ceremony, something that dates back to the 14th century. Wives and family members there. Randy Choate was in Japan years and years ago when he was in college, said that he didn't really truly enjoy the culture then the way that he did, so he's able to do that right now. This is something that really affords you that opportunity, despite the fact that you've got 7 games to play while you're here. You've got work to do. Eduardo Nunez retires. Sho Nakata one away here in the second.
Yeah, you got work to do, but you still want to take in the culture as best you can. What an opportunity for a lot of these guys. Once in a lifetime chance to go over there, represent their organization, play against great competition, and mix in some of the sights and sounds.
So Chris Capuano, who struck out 2 in the first inning, has already retired 1 here in the top of the second as Nobuhiro Matsuda steps in. Swings and misses at the first pitch. Matsuda's been really productive so far. 5 for 11 in the series with a home run and 5 runs scored. And this one in the air toward right center field. Zobrist will play it off the wall. And extra bases for Matsuda, who stays hot in this Japan All-Star Series. Another extra base hit.
He's really been swinging the bat well, taking what they give him. Ability to go the other way. You make a mistake middle in, he can turn on you and take you deep. Right here, a little change up out over the plate. Didn't try and do too much. Just drove it to right center for a nice double. One thing I'm noticing about Matsuda, it's easy when you're 6 for 12 to have fun, but he seems to be like that firecracker, the energy for Team Samurai Japan.
Yeah, I've noticed that same thing. Plays with a lot of energy. And yeah, when you're hitting 500 over the course of three plus games, that helps.
Have energy.
That helps. Yeah, that's right. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo takes a breaking ball for a called strike, and it's 0-1. He's in left field, has seen limited playing time in this Japan All-Star Series, just 1 for 3 with a single. Again, playing from in front has not happened often for these Major League All-Stars, not since the exhibition game when they almost coughed up that 8-0 lead, walked away with an 8-7 victory.
Good tight slider right there from Chris Capuano. Got him 0-2. Can do a bunch of things. Can expand even further with that slider. Down and away, even off the plate even more. Can go change up. Can do a lot of different things right here.
Picked out of the dirt by Butera. Count 1 ball and 2 strikes. And just to get a lead and just to play from in front. I mean, they've, since that exhibition game when they took a 7-0 lead, they've been outscored 21-6. I mean, they've been beaten down and beaten down early. It seems like all these games they've been down in the early innings, trying to fight back against pitchers that they don't know, pitchers who have just been playing effective too. I mean, this isn't all about jet lag and travel and staying busy away from the yard. I mean, the pitchers have been good. We got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, better than good. Watching last night, Norimoto, I mean, that guy looked like he could come over and insert himself right into a big league rotation, running his fastball into the mid-upper 90s with a good cutter slider and a nasty changeup split action. So, yeah, Kenta Maeda kind of pitching backwards in game 1, showing a lot of early count, off speed, good curveball. Another guy who runs his fastball into the low to mid 90s. So yeah, they've definitely had their Major League Baseball has definitely had their work cut out for them as far as from an offensive standpoint. They shouldn't be struggling as bad as they have, but let's give some credit to the Japanese pitchers.
And you mentioned Maeda. The future of Maeda is still up in the air, whether or not he'll be posted with an opportunity to come and pitch in the major leagues. This one, a line drive, base hit into left field and down the line. That will easily score Matsuda to tie this ball game as Carter digs it out. Extra bases for Tsutsugo, and it's 1-1.
Just a great at bat right there. He dropped down 0-2 on a curveball and a slider down and away and battled the count back to even. Didn't try and do too much. You see Capuano right here. He tries to throw a fastball away. Kind of leaks back middle. Just drops a barrel of the bat, takes it the other way for a nice double. That's pretty right there. Those are the ones, Paul, you're running around first, digging yourself pretty hard.
Entire dugout digs him too as Tsutsugo on second base with the 1-out RBI. Samurai Japan has tied things up. And the first pitch to Yoshihiro Maru is a breaking ball in there for a called strike.
Another guy with great stats. You look up and down this lineup, it doesn't matter who they plug in there. These guys have put up big time numbers.
In the air, left field, sends Carter back a few steps, puts it away for out number 2. So with the lack of true everyday outfielders on this roster, Chris Carter, who played into 6 games in left field in 2014, is now out there for the second time in Japan, first time in this All-Star Series. Ben Zobrist, just 34 games in center field in his career, played there 7 times in 2014. And then, of course, Yasiel Puig. But again, that's what John Farrell's got to try to do, is not just get everybody in there to get other guys rest, but to get guys in there so they didn't make the trip for nothing.
Absolutely. Ben Zobrist, I'm sure he brought 15 gloves with him on the trip over. But I think it's unbelievable that he's able to play center field. I mean, he's playing premium positions throughout the course of his career. Came up as a shortstop. I remember it greatly, him coming up as a shortstop who didn't really hit too much, and then just really coming into his own from an offensive standpoint, and then moving over to second base. Now he's showing he can play center field as well. Can do a lot of different things.
Kenta Imamiya swings over the top of that off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2. Between Maru, who just flew out to left field, and Imamiya, who's down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes here. These are 2 guys that haven't started but have seen playing time, especially late in ball games, coming in as defensive replacements for Hiroki Kikobu's bunch. And now that Samurai Japan has secured this series win, maybe we'll see. Well, we've already seen it in this game 4. Their lineup has been turned upside down a little bit too. Get those guys some playing time against the best that the Major League has to offer. The 1-2 fights it off.
What's interesting about Chris Capuano, especially this season, and after Tsutsugo hit a ringing double into the left field corner, is he's dominated right-handed hitters to a 242 clip. Left-handed hitters have hit 321 off him this year. That's a little different. I think it speaks to his ability to nibble with that changeup against the right-handers. Saw it right there. He went right to the well right there with the good changeup. Left it a little bit up.
And even the power numbers allowed, I guess, for Chris Capuano against lefties and righties, completely different. 7 home runs allowed and 106 at bats to lefties, and 3 homers allowed and 277 at bats to righties. And upstairs to Imamiya, the count even up, 2 balls and 2 strikes. So already at 32 pitches. Good look at Sakamoto, who gets the night off, been playing shortstop for the first 3 games.
Paul, I took a lot of heat on Twitter when Sakamoto came to the plate, because he came up to the Frozen theme song from Disney.
Yeah, you want to clean that up?
And I thought he lost a bet. And a lot of people on Twitter were reminding me that Frozen's huge over in Japan. It's huge in my house. I have an 11-year-old daughter.
Imamiya not frozen. He swings and misses. Inning over. Third strikeout of the night for Chris Capuano, but Samurai Japan ties it up with 2 doubles in the inning. Loves it. Japan All-Star Series continues at the Tokyo Dome as John Farrell and the Major League All-Stars had a 1-0 lead, but quickly gave that right back to Samurai Japan. Just as the Major League All-Stars had back-to-back doubles from Yasiel Puig and Justin Morneau in the first, back-to-back doubles for Matsuda and Tsutsugo in the second, as Chris Carter leads things off and swings through the first pitch from Fujinami. It's 0-1. Big year for Chris Carter. Second in baseball with 37 home runs.
Yeah, breakout season. Not where he wanted to be average-wise, 227, but the 37 homers is big. And Bo Porter, the former manager of the Houston Astros, everything kind of woke up for Chris Carter in the second half. He was a dead pull guy. Everyone just stayed away. Finally, he started driving some baseballs out to right field, right center in Minute Maid Park, and it opened everything up. Guys didn't know where to pitch him. That was feeding right into his strengths.
Yeah, we had a chance to have Bo Porter in studio. Worked with him on MLB Now one day, and he was in New York. Went to Yankee Stadium, talked with him a couple times, and he said there was one at bat. As Carter sends this one in the air to center field, Maru has room. One away here in the second. Said there was one at bat at Fenway Park where he just hit one right through the right side, came back to the dugout, and Bo Porter pulled him aside and said, "That's it. That's how you need to hit. That's got to be your approach."
You look right there at home run every 13.7 at bats. Better than Edwin Encarnacion and Giancarlo Stanton. He of the potential $320 million contract. Are you kidding me right now with that? With what I just said?
Yeah, it's a lot of cheese. As Ben Zobrist steps in.
I believe that to be the key to hitting. You can't be a one-trick pony and just be a dead pull guy. There is one guy I have played with, and although he doesn't consider himself a dead pull guy, and that's Jose Bautista, who hits, I think he had 35 homers last year. I'm sure most of them were to the pull side. I'd bet you 33 of them were to the pull side. But in today's game, with the specialized pitching and the ability for the managers to present so many different matchups to the hitters, you better use the whole field. You better stay up the middle, the big part of the field. Keep your front shoulder tucked and try and drive the ball up the middle the other way at times, or you're susceptible.
And that year when he hit over 50, I think 1 or 2 were hit to right field. Last year, you mentioned 35 home runs. 34 of them were to straightaway center field or left. Ben Zobrist right up the middle. Terrific stab by Fujinami. 2-away here in the second. One of those situations where the ball caught him.
Yeah, Joey Bats has a little bit different approach. He's got that high leg kick. He gets so on top of that dish, almost daring guys to come inside on him. But he's incorporated that leg kick. He's worked hard for that timing mechanism, and it works for him.
Well, Ben Zobrist tried to use the middle part of the field, but a terrific play by Fujinami. Just kind of had the glove right in the vicinity of where Zobrist hit it. And they're 2-away. Eduardo Nunez with the Minnesota Twins. We were going to have a new uniform this year. Obviously, they're not. They had Minnesota Twins prospects in the Arizona Fall League. Obviously, Eduardo Nunez in Japan. They're not going to debut them now. They'll wait for opening day. But do you like that no pinstripe look on the Twins uniforms? It's a different look.
I'm a big fan of the old school. I like the pinstripes right there. I'm gonna have to see it, Paul.
Nunez grounds to second base, and the inning is over. A 1-2-3 second. Fujinami helped himself with some slick D too. It's 1-1. Get you caught up on some of the rules and regulations for this All-Star Series. The rosters consist of 29 players. 28 are active for each game, even though for the Major League All-Stars, sounds like Robinson Cano is done for the duration of this series. 2 umpires from Major League Baseball, 2 from Nippon Professional Baseball. They're using the DH. We haven't seen it yet, but if we get to extra innings after 10, the inning starts with runners on first and second, and we know that we will not be going more than 12 innings. That's how in 1990 there was a draw. Japan won that series in 1990, 4-3 with the tie. And they have won this series with games 4 to be completed, and of course game 5 in a couple of days at the Sapporo Dome. Seiji Kobayashi, the catcher and number 9 hitter, will lead things off here in the top of the third against Chris Capuano, who deals low, 1 ball and no strikes. It's Kobayashi, and then the top of the order, Tetsudo Yamada, Yuki Yanagita. below the knees again. 2 balls and no strikes.
And if you're looking for a reason why Chris Capuano has so much success against right-handers as opposed to left-handed batters, it comes back to one pitch, his changeup, which is his, I believe, hit. I thought he got that one, Paul. I was going to let you take it.
I know you're judging on the bat flip, right? They grade high on the bat flip scale.
But it goes back to his changeup. I think it's his best pitch. I don't know if he'll tell you that. I'm sure he would. But he throws his changeup 34% of the time to right-handers and only 6.8% of the time to left-handed hitters. And that being his best pitch, he can command it inside and outside to both sides of the plate. Right-handers off his changeup only hit 174. So look for him to incorporate that in there a lot. There it was.
Tetsudo Yamada, 22-year-old who played with the Swallows in Nippon Professional Baseball, takes low, 1 ball and 1 strike. He struck out back in the first inning. One of 3 strikeouts for Chris Capuano to this point in the third. The other thing to keep in mind for Capuano and all the starting pitchers is there is an 80 pitch limit. So he's halfway there at 40 pitches through 3. What was interesting, as Darrell Hamilton and I were doing the game yesterday, we were looking at what Norimoto was doing. He was cruising along. And at one point, I looked at the pitch count. I said, he's at about 55, 60 pitches. I said, now, with the way that he's rolling, just start taking pitches and run that pitch count up. Get him out of there after 80. The only problem was the guys that came in after him, well, they did the job too. So that's why I'm not a hitting coach. On the ground, Longoria. On the run, 2 away.
Evans, one of the smoothest defenders at third base. Some of the keys to playing great third base, especially on turf, is you got to be deep. You got to play as deep as your arm will allow you. He's got one of the stronger arms at third base. He can come in on the ball easily. Made that look routine right there.
Yanagita grounded out to Jose Altuve back in the first inning. And lines a base hit into center field in the third. His 4th hit of the series, and he's on with 2 outs.
Here we go again with the lefties having more success off Capuano.
Talked about that pitch limit. It's 80 per game. Can't throw more than 2 consecutive days. If a pitcher throws more than 30, he's got to get a day off. More than 50, needs at least 4 days off. Of course, if you reach that 80 pitch limit, you're in the middle of an at bat, you can go ahead and finish off that batter before getting lifted. But we haven't seen anybody get too close to that. I think the closest we've gotten is 74 pitches, 75 pitches. Can't imagine that either John Farrell or Kukobu would really test those limits, especially with this series already locked up for Samurai Japan. This is Uchikawa sending Zobrist back to the track. Makes the catch in front of the wall for out number 3. Gave it a ride, but a lot of real estate in center field. Chris Capuano works around a 2-out hit. It's 1-1. Jose Veras, Dexter Fowler, Chris Carter, and their mascot Orbit, who is huge in Japan. Look at this. People taking pictures, signing autographs, starting chants. I mean, some people look a little lost maybe as to what the heck is going on with Orbit, but still, it's great. Orbit's been one of the folks livening up a crowd that really doesn't need much help. They have made a terrific atmosphere. Somebody get Orbit to that seat, because that little tyke is out.
I heard Orbit tried to crash the tea ceremony with Dexter Fowler, and they had to escort him out of the building.
That Orbit, tell you what, nothing but trouble. Drew Butera will lead things off here in the bottom of the third inning, as the Major League All-Stars in Samurai Japan tied at 1. Samurai Japan has won the first 3 games of this Japan All-Star Series, their first series win since 1990. And at this point, it's got to be a pride thing. And I know that we're only 2 regular season games for the Arizona Diamondbacks in Australia when they played the Dodgers to start the 2014 season. But there's something to be said of, we didn't make this trip to not win a game.
I completely agree. I'm sure John Farrell feels the same way. At the end of the day, you do have to tip your hat to Kenta Maeda, Norimoto, all the pitchers on the Team Samurai Japan. They've really done well. They've had great fastball command. They've had executed off-speed stuff. Have really played well. You wonder if the Major League All-Star players, the motor shut off at the end of the season. Now you try and crank it back up. It's not that easy. But at the end of the day, they have to squeak a win out at some point.
Butera goes down swinging. They'll throw down to first to complete the strikeout. And it's the third of the night for Fujinami. 1 away here in the third. Jose Altuve will step in, struck out back in the first inning. 0 for 6 in the series. You know, he did not go more than 2 games without a hit in the regular season. Now, granted, this is not the regular season, and as you say, this guy's motor has been shut off since the end of September. But for a guy who was collecting, seemed like multi-hit game after multi-hit game, put together a terrific season. Garnered some votes for the MVP. It's actually a little strange to see an 0 next to his name. And I thought he was the one that was going to break it up last night when he led off the 9th inning. 225 hits in the regular season. I thought he'd be the guy to get the Major League All-Stars in the hit column. Nice play in right field, but in and out of the glove of Yanagita. He had it for a split second, but as the glove dragged behind him, it popped out. So much for that 0 for Jose Altuve.
You look at the replay right here. It's a good 4-seam fastball down in the zone, catches a little bit middle of the plate, but there you go again. Jose Altuve not trying to do too much, shoots it the other way. Yanagita made a heck of an attempt to come up with it.
It was right till about there. That's
yeah, it just looked like his wrist turned over on the turf and wasn't able to keep it in. Yanagita has played mostly center field in this series, but shifting over to right. So the Gold Glover in the Central League, Maru, can take over center field. Yasiel Puig, who doubled back in the first and came around to score on a Justin Morneau RBI double. Swings and misses 0-1. And again, we go back to saying these are exhibition series, and no one wants to get hurt, especially coming off the heels of watching Robinson Cano break his pinky toe. But you'd like to see Jose Altuve maybe try and steal a bag right here, get in scoring position for Yasiel Puig. I don't know if they've been told to shut down the running game.
He led the American League with 56 stolen bases in the regular season. Second in baseball only to Puig's teammate Dee Gordon. ripped a base hit into left field. Puig's got a couple of knocks today. Altuve heading to third. Here comes the throw. In there safely.
Nice job by Puig right there. Absolute bullet again down the left field line, but following Jose Altuve. Aggressive base running. See right here, he gets the hanging breaking ball, middle of the plate. Kind of Cadillacs it out of the box and then turns on the jets right there. Sees. Great job by DeMarlo Hale, the first base coach for the Toronto Blue Jays. Actually bench coach. He's first base coach here. Telling Yasiel Puig to get on his horse and get to second base.
So it's Altuve on at third and Puig on at second for Justin Morneau, who had an RBI double back in the first.
Here's where, if you're Justin Morneau, you came into the game 1 for 12. First at bat, double down the right field line. Just expand on that good feeling. Just get something up, lift it to the outfield, and get you the lead.
He was a .319 hitter. That won him the National League batting title, and he was just as good with runners in scoring position. Slightly better if you want to really get exact. .320 with runners in scoring position. To play the infield in with one away here in the bottom of the third. Chance here for the Major League All-Stars to not only retake the lead, but maybe put a crooked number up. It's a long list that Justin Morneau joined in 2014. Rockies to win a National League batting title, back-to-back years, in fact, as one of the newest members of the New York Mets. Michael Kadire hit .331 in 2013. Cargo in 2010. But you didn't like playing there. Is that right?
I was absolutely. You know, there's always certain places that you do well at and other places that are your worst nightmare. Coors Field was terrible for me, personally. Not only did I never get hits there, I got hurt on that field like multiple times. Not good with the altitude, Paul. What I saw on that list was Larry Walker was a 3-time offender. God, he was a good player.
You put him in the Hall of Fame?
Wow.
That's the debate. We'll get into that in a few weeks.
Yeah, I am. He was one of the best players of our generation when we first broke into the big leagues.
That's always been the knock for Larry Walker. It's always the topic of discussion for Troy Tulowitzki. Anybody who puts up big numbers that plays for the Rockies, it's always a yeah, but.
Yeah, he put them up everywhere, though, especially Larry Walker. I don't care where you're playing. You hit .379 in a big league season.
And I guess that's the question I always find myself asking analysts and right around Hall of Fame time. It's like, what does a Colorado Rocky have to do to get rid of that yeah, but? You know, like how much above and beyond already great numbers do you have to put up to just get past that? Yeah, they played at a mile high.
I don't know, Paul. I think it comes down to home and road splits. It really does. I mean, that ballpark's so spacious. Not only does the ball carry, but it's one of the bigger outfields square footage wise. So a lot of balls fall in. And you look at Justin Morneau. He's a perfect example. This is a guy who had just a great year both on the road and at home. He hit .327 in Coors Field and hit .309 on the road. So there goes to show you if you can hit. But Troy Tulowitzki's numbers were so mind-boggling in Coors Field, and you almost want to chalk it up to coincidence. That cannot happen again, what he was able to do. I just want Troy Tulowitzki to stay healthy.
I think we all do. He's so
him and Cargo, when those two are on the field. Makes Walt Weiss's life a lot easier, I'll tell you that.
Yes. 2-2 pitch to Morneau. Upstairs, count runs full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. So Fujinami, who had 26 pitches coming into this inning, now up to 43. And not anywhere near being out of the woods just yet. 2 on, 1 out, the payoff pitch to Morneau. High drive, right field. He got all of that one. A 3-run home run for Justin Morneau. His second of the series, and it's 4-1. So Morneau, who was 1 for 12 coming into this ball game in the series, has 4 RBIs and 2 hits.
Oh, and he just got a hanging slider right in the middle of the plate right there, and he didn't miss it. And that's the big thing about Justin Morneau. And it's great to see him back. I know he went through all those concussion syndrome, and then he kind of moonlighted at first for Pittsburgh 2 years ago, and then battled back and won a batting title. But that was the thing. When you went in and played the Minnesota Twins, because that's the uniform I'll always remember him in. You had Joe Mauer winning batting titles and MVPs, but this was the guy with 2 men on. If you missed over the middle of the plate, boom, crooked number, game over. And that's exactly. Give his team some breathing room right there. 3-run drive.
He's got 6 of their 8 RBIs in this series.
You want to know why it's tough when talking about Coors Field? Because when Larry Walker hit 379 in 1999, he hit 461 at home and 262 on the road. So that's not coincidence.
No, that's not.
286 on the road. I don't want to sell him out a couple points. 461 at home.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, that was a good pitch right there by Fujinami. And that's the one thing I've noticed about him. He hasn't attacked. He never established his fastball, and now he's trying to. Down 4-1. Never established his fastball early in this game. Kind of went to that slider an awful lot. And Justin Morneau was able to sit on one in the middle of the plate and drive it out of the ballpark.
3-2 pitch to Longoria, chop to Matsuda at third. 2 away here in the third. Another look at the Justin Morneau home run. It's amazing to think. I was at Yankee Stadium the night that Josh Hamilton hit. I think it was roughly 812 home runs. I think in the home run derby, something like that. We'll get the exact numbers. But it was Justin Morneau who won that home run derby because of the way, because of the way that the rules of it were structured at the time. That it was total home runs to get to the finals, and then you start with a clean slate. But it was Justin Morneau, and I remember being inside that press conference, and he felt so uncomfortable because he was like, I mean, this guy Hamilton just put on a show. And like nobody really wants to talk to me about it. They got to write their stories.
And you heard earlier, I was talking about Carlos Santana, talking about the nasty split fingers from the Japanese pitchers, and there was one from Fujinami right there.
Morneau beat Hamilton 5-3 in the finals of that home run derby back in 2008 at Yankee Stadium. That was after a 28 home run first round for Josh Hamilton, and a couple that came real close to leaving, to finding that train track out in right field. Carlos Santana down to the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. He struck out back in the first.
see Fujinami here trying to against Longoria. You saw 3 fastballs. You've seen a little bit more aggressive downhill heater. There was a slider again.
Second time Santana has struck out tonight. And that'll do it for the Major League All-Stars here in the third. But Justin Morneau with a 3-run home run. He's got 4 ribbies tonight and a 4-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars. Mark DeRosa back with you. The 2014 Japan All-Star Series continues from the Tokyo Dome. A 4-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars as Justin Morneau connected on a 3-run home run in the last of the third to give the big leaguers a little bit of breathing room. 4, 5, and 6 due up for Samurai Japan against Chris Capuano here in the top of the 4th inning. Sho Nakata, who grounded out back in the second, takes inside. And if you include the exhibition game against the Hanshin Tigers and obviously the first 3 innings here, Chris Capuano has worked 7 innings, giving up just 1 run.
I think this is a great audition for Chris Capuano. You got the big time guys, obviously Scherzer, Shields, Lester. Then you kind of got that second tier of Francisco Liriano, Brandon McCarthy, Jason Hamill. But a guy like Chris Capuano can fill a role on a lot of teams.
Signed with the Boston Red Sox last offseason, but finished the year with the New York Yankees. Again, a free agent once again heading into the 2015 season. One of the incremental improvements the Yankees made to their pitching staff as they tried like heck to fill some of those voids as that rotation ravaged by injuries. Missed Masahiro Tanaka for a bit of time. There was some question as to whether or not he would need Tommy John surgery. Obviously did not, but Capuano stepped in nicely with the Yankees. I mean, at 4.25 ERA is not great, but you're not asking him to be a Cy Young winner either.
Give us a chance to win.
Nakata skies this one on the infield. In comes Altuve. Morneau gives way to the second baseman, and there's one away. Now, I know that you've had a chance to play with some Japanese players, but I would think your favorite all time is Munenori Kawasaki.
Yeah,
correct?
it's not even close.
No.
No offense to Kosuke Fukudome.
Of course. And guess what? Kawasaki in the yard trying to figure out who exactly is closest to him on this Samurai Japan roster.
Yeah, Matsuda. You know, third baseman Matsuda. He's a crazy. He's a very happy player. Energy boy. Check it out, Matsuda. Check it out, Matsuda.
Is there anyone better than that guy, Paul?
No.
We did an interview together. I told Kevin Millar with Intentional Talk, I said, you have to have this guy on. And it went viral on the internet.
Yeah.
And that guy made me famous. What a great teammate. Just listening to him right there. I feel like I played a little bit of a part in his English getting better. Right
Yeah.
there. Energy boy.
Yeah. Because you said he spoke no English.
None. But we understood everything he was saying.
That's right. And anytime he did an interview, he always had the translation book in front of him. He was trying.
You know, people ask you all the time, what are some of the greatest highlights of your career? And I tell you, there are multiple games in my career that I did nothing in that just resonate with me. And I can remember him hitting a walk-off double in the gap off Tommy Hunter, Baltimore Orioles, to win us a ball game. And you had to see the team. We carried him off the field. He's an infectious personality. Great to have in a clubhouse. And I think the thing that gets lost with Kawasaki is the guy can play.
Yeah.
Can get a bunt down, can move a runner over, plays the heck out of shortstop and second base, gives you good ABs. Yeah, he is beloved in Toronto.
Are you at liberty to discuss any of the stories from the planes? The plane rides, or no? Is that strictly for off camera?
Well, I actually think Jose Bautista tweeted out Kawasaki dancing on the plane. And I remember talking to him and him saying his parents didn't appreciate that. They want him to be a little bit more reserved.
Energy boy strikes out for out number 2 here in the 3rd inning. I just hope when they got done with that interview with Munenori Kawasaki that they returned the camera back to the ear, nose, and throat doctor they borrowed it from. That was an extreme close-up. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo will bat with 2 outs here in the top of the 4th inning. An RBI double back in the 2nd.
Yeah, Tsutsugo hit a beautiful, battled the count back to even after falling behind 0-2. His first at bat, hit a beautiful line drive down the left field line.
Shoots that one foul, 1 ball and 1 strike. So now Capuano up to 58 pitches. Again, that pitch limit is 80. The fact that he's already gone over 50. This is from our good friend Captain Obvious. Now the fact that he's gone over 50 means he's done for this series regardless. In there for a called strike 2.
Man, Chris is feeling it right now. He's really throwing the ball well. Good hard fastball on the corner right there to get to a 2-strike count. Got to believe he's going to go with the slider down the way here.
Blocked by Butera. Last 3 regular season starts for Chris Capuano. He finished the season strong, sub-2 ERA. So even with a month and change off in between actual starts, and he, like all the other pitchers, have at least thrown some bullpen sessions to keep their arm loose and ready. Even with about a month in between, he's still been pretty sharp. just misses low and away.
Good pitch right there. He wanted it. You saw his face right there. Good stick by Drew Butera right there. Good frame. Probably a little off.
The payoff pitch to Tsutsugo with 2 outs in the 4th. And they'll do it again. See Hisashi Iwakuma on the bench for John Farrell. Started in game 2. John Farrell and the Major League All-Stars, their coaching staff is yet to announce an official starter for game 5. We think it'll be Matt Shoemaker. In fact, Shoemaker will start game 5. I think it's the exhibition game against this same Samurai Japan team at the Okinawa Cellular Stadium on November 20th that we still aren't sure of a starter for. But if it were to just stay on rotation, then it would be Hisashi Iwakuma one more time in Japan. Got a terrific warm welcome. Native son of Tokyo, pitching in game 2. Got roughed up a little bit. Terry Francona watches the 3-2 pitch. Line drive, Puig coming in, makes the catch. What a terrific grab by Yasiel Puig. Oh, that was terrific, but still not the best thing we saw in this half inning. The great defense behind Capuano, but we still like some Kawasaki.
Matsuda, third baseman Matsuda. He's a crazy. He's a very happy player. Energy boy. Check it out, Matsuda. Check it out, Matsuda.
For the San Francisco Giants in 1964 to 1965, threw out the ceremonial first pitch to Tsuyoshi Wada before the ball game. Debuted at the age of 20, 2 seasons with the Giants, went 5-1, 3.43 ERA. Was mostly a reliever, but after his time in San Francisco, came back to Japan, pitched in the Pacific League for 17 seasons, won 103 games, and had a 3.64 ERA. As Chris Carter will lead things off in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Shintaro Fujinami misses outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Carter flew out to center field and hits first at bat back in the 2nd inning. Be followed by Ben Zobrist and Eduardo Nunez here in the 4th.
Paul watching Fujinami today and then getting a chance tomorrow to see Ohtani. Another 20-year-old who his stats just ooze off the page at you, because not only is he possessed a 101-mile-an-hour fastball. He's also made the All-Star team in 2013 as an outfielder, and last year hit .274 with 10 homers.
I thought Bumgarner was a good hitting pitcher. Ohtani might have something on Bumgarner. This is your starting pitching matchup for Game 5. Matt Shoemaker, who pitched in the opener of the All-Star Series, up against Shohei Ohtani, who we saw in relief early in this series as well. Chris Carter strikes out.
And that, for me, is the key right there for Fujinami. Watching him earlier in the game, he came into it knowing that the scouting report is he could run the fastball into the upper 90s, but yet he shied away from it early. It was kind of almost used as a deception pitch. When you throw that hard, you got to attack. You've watched him attack Evan Longoria last inning, and then Chris Carter putting him away with good fastballs down and away. I still believe the toughest pitch in the game is a located fastball down and away with some good velocity. Toughest pitch in the game to do anything with, right there.
Pours in a strike, 0-1 to Ben Zobrist, who was robbed of a potential base hit on a terrific play up the middle by Fujinami. Talked about that matchup for Game 5 that comes your way Tuesday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. You get to sleep in for an hour. Replays at 9 Eastern Time. That's Matt Shoemaker and Shohei Ohtani. Game 5 from the Sapporo Dome. Zobrist swings and misses, 1 ball and 2 strikes. So Fujinami, who had thrown just 26 pitches through the first 2 innings, was forced to throw 30 pitches in the 3rd inning. Got the first out, and then a base hit to Altuve, double for Puig, and that 3-run home run for Justin Morneau. This one on the ground to second base, and it's Yamada for out number 2. So 15 pitches left according to the pitch limits for Fujinami, depending on how things shake out. Eduardo Nunez may or may not be his last batter. Again, Norimoto was perfect through 5 innings. He only threw 60 pitches.
I look at Eduardo Nunez in the box, and all I can think about is the fact that he's going to get a chance to play for Paul Molitor, the new manager of the Minnesota Twins. 3,300 hits in his career. I think it's 3,319 to be exact.
We've seen that more and more the last few seasons. Guys who had arguably Hall of Fame careers, and I say that with Don Mattingly in mind, but also Ryan Sandberg, a Hall of Famer, now Paul Molitor. Guys come back in the game and manage, not just be a special advisor and answer a few phone calls. No disrespect to the hard work that those guys do, but to go through it every day and to wear a uniform and grind and travel and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You walk into a clubhouse and a guy has 3,319 career hits, 9th on the all-time list, 7-time All-Star, 2004 Hall of Fame inductee. His words are definitely going to carry weight. Then again, though, it comes down to the character of the man. I really believe that. I've had coaches who never played an inning above AA that have impacted my career just as much as, let's say, an Alan Trammell or a Bobby Cox. I had Alan Trammell as an infield coach in Chicago. Grew up as a kid watching him play all the time. So when he spoke, I definitely, ears perked up a heck of a lot more.
A 1-2-3 inning for Fujinami, 4-1 after 4. Here's your chance to own a piece of history. Bid now on game used memorabilia from the 2014 Japan All-Star Series at www.mlb.com/JapanAS auction. Orbit never lacked having any fun. Yeah, I did take a second look there. I didn't think that was a real umpire.
Whoa!
Wow! Yeah, that doesn't look like Chris Conroy, who's watching in the background saying, boy, I hope I'm not asked to do that.
There's not too many umpires in the game that could pull off the reverse worm.
With a somersault roll mixed in there.
I'd like to see Jolt and Joe West try and pull that off right there.
Marud, base hit into left center field to lead things off here in the 5th. So Fujinami has been hurt hard twice by Justin Morneau. The double in the first inning, and of course the home run, a 3-run homer. Morneau has accounted for all 4 RBIs for the Major League All-Stars, looking to finally win a ball game in this Japan All-Star Series. They lead at 4-1 in the top of the 5th. Check on Maru over at first as Kenta Imamiya, the shortstop, who is 0 for 1. Digs in against Capuano.
Another champion right here for the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. First round pick in 2009. Hit .295 this year with 3 homers and 42 ribbies.
I think Butera saw it right off the bat, but he finds it now, chucks the mask, and puts it away for out number 1. I've been really impressed with Chris Capuano, and maybe that just goes to his pitch arsenal, I guess, or his pitch approach. He's never been known as the fireballer. He could just kind of go in there, take a little off, put a little extra on, spot his pitches, but he's done a terrific job.
It's all about execution for Chris Capuano. If he's able to execute down and away, keep you honest with a 4-seamer in, he can be effective. There's no doubt about it. He's been in the big leagues for a long time. You don't just hang around the big leagues and find yourself on different rosters, especially the rosters he's been on. Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, he's pitched in some pretty important ball games in his career. And it's kind of holding true what his MO has been. He's got a great changeup. He can neutralize right-handed hitters, which doesn't seem to be the norm for a lefty. But it's holding true today. He's 1 for 12 against right-handers, and lefties are 3 for 6 off him.
5 years with the Milwaukee Brewers, 2 with the Dodgers. Parts of years with the Diamondbacks, the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox. I'm sure every pitching staff would love to have 5 potential Cy Young winners, something that the Tigers were trotting out for a good part of the second half.
Yeah.
But not every organization can do that. You need guys at the back end of your rotation. In there for a called strike.
Not only guys at the back end of your rotation, but veterans with work ethic and class and character, the way he carries himself, the way he prepares from start to start. It's when those young guys come up and they get a taste of a Chris Capuano and follow him. Watch the way he goes about his routine.
Blocked by Butera, and Maru retreats back to first.
And the list goes on and on for me. Guys that I followed around like a puppy dog early in my career, just trying to get a taste of what made them successful. Chipper Jones was a master of watching video and coming up with a game plan. Some guys just go into the video room and they just are watching video.
Out of his reach, Altuve on the bag and over to first. A slick double play by Jose Altuve. Wow, turns it himself. Great footwork. 4-1 halfway through this one. Welcome back as the Major League All-Stars have a 4-1 lead heading to the last of the 5th inning, looking for their first victory in this Japan All-Star Series. They have been shut out in the win column through the first 3. Samurai Japan has already secured a series win for the first time since 1990. It's also the last time we saw a combined no-hitter in this series. We saw one last night, as 4 Samurai Japan pitchers combined to no-hit the Major League All-Stars, though this a bit of a different story. It's been the Morneau show to this point. 2 hits, an RBI double, and a 3-run home run.
Yeah, Puig and Morneau a combined 4 for 4. Justin Morneau with 4 ribbies. The rest of the team 1 for 13. So the 2-3 guys carrying the torch right now.
New pitcher for Hiroki Kikobu's team as Minoru Iwata comes in, the lefty, to replace Shintaro Fujinami. Final line on Fujinami went 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs. They were all earned. Didn't walk anybody. Struck out 5, as you see the numbers with the Hanshin Tigers for Iwata. ERA slightly above 2.5.
31-year-old left-hander, 8 seasons with the Hanshin Tigers. 45 and 57 overall record with a 3.04 ERA. And he'll face 9-1-2 for the Major League All-Stars in the 5th as Drew Butera leads off and swings over the top 0-1. Butera getting the start behind home plate as finally they were able to convince Sal Perez to take a day off. Wonder if Dayton Moore called over and said, hey, John Farrell, can you please get Sal off his feet a little bit?
Well, I was wondering the other day, like, when are they going to give him a little bit of time? But then you look And you can almost circle game 4, regardless of the scenario in the series, wins and loss wise, but figure they were going to give him a chance to work with Jeremy Guthrie. Guys know each other obviously really well. It was the battery to start game 7 for the Kansas City Royals. Their teammate Alcides Escobar also played a ton this year. He gets the night off as Eduardo Nunez takes over at shortstop. Butera on the ground, too short. Dug out by Nakata, one away here in the 5th.
And Sal Perez usually goes back to his native Venezuela and plays winter ball after playing a full season of Major League Baseball. So he's chosen not to do that, not to play winter ball this year, but instead he's decided to come on this Japan trip. So
how much does that extra month really affect the offseason? A month of playing, how does that affect your rest and your recuperation and your...
You know, I think for most guys, I can't speak for all, but for myself and the guys who live around the Atlanta area that I worked out with throughout the course of my career, you give your body about 2 to 3 weeks of doing absolutely nothing. Then you start slowly getting back in the gym, tuning it up, and then we wouldn't pick up a bat or start throwing a baseball until the new year. Get geared up for five or 6 weeks and go into spring training ready to go.
Jose Altuve takes a called strike.
A lot of these guys go home and play winter ball, whether it be Venezuela or the Dominican, and I gotta believe towards spring training it would only help towards getting your timing ready. The only problem is you worry about injury, getting that little nick a la Robinson Cano, a broken toe, and kind of sidelines you for a little bit of time.
Altuve over a 400 hitter against lefties. Nice play. And it gets by Nakata. Altuve busted it down the line. Nice job by Matsuda to get to that one. Spin and throw, just kind of spiked it in the dirt. Not sure if that was by design on the turf or not.
Nice play by Energy Boy going to his left right there. Probably would have had him if Nakata could have picked that.
I'm going to let you inside the mind of a broadcaster. I was debating. That's why I hesitated. I was debating, do I call him Energy Boy on the play?
If Kawasaki's calling him that,
right, yeah, then I guess we're good to go.
We're good.
Well, it's an infield single for Jose Altuve, so a guy who had the most multi-hit games in the regular season by far, 10 more than his next closest competitor, has a multi-hit game here in the 5th as Yasiel Puig swings and misses 0-1. Puig's had a good night. Couple of doubles to his credit. He's come around to score both runs thanks to Justin Morneau.
He has not taken a pitch yet.
It's nothing new.
Nothing new.
All right.
It actually was. Throughout the course of the first few months of the season, he was seeing more pitches at the plate per at bat.
I wasn't prepared to talk so much home run derby. This is already the second time I'll bring up the derby, but this past year he was in and out. I think he saw the minimum amount of pitches. Like swung at all of them. Didn't connect on a home run. Runner goes. And Altuve in there.
You knew he would eventually have to steal a bag. Leading the American League in stolen bases this year. Kind of that creeping lead.
He had 56 to lead the American League. Takes second base. First time that the Major League All-Stars have stolen a base in this Japan All-Star Series. I'd like to get my hands on Yasiel Puig's passport. That's a base hit into left field. Altuve moves up 90 feet, had to hold up to make sure it got through. And they're not just being weird, it's only because he started the year in Australia with the Dodgers. Now he basically finishes the year in Japan. I mean, it's a good year for the passport. A lot of travel. Once again, Justin Morneau steps in with 2 runners aboard. Last time he was up in this situation, he hit one over the right field wall. He's driven in all 4 runs to this point, a double in the first and a 3-run homer in the third.
Another guy on this roster, Drew Butera.
Yes.
Started the year in Australia, ends it in Japan.
It's a lot of travel. The unfortunate part is because they're chartered flights, you don't even get the airline miles. That's how cheapskate Severino looks at things. First and third, bottom of the 5th. Altuve at third, Puig off of first.
You can have your miles. I'll take the charter.
Another spot here for Justin Morneau to really break things open. Mentioned before, he had struggled in this Japan All-Star Series coming in. Was just 1 for 12 prior to tonight's action. That was against Samurai Japan, but he also scuffled against the split squad of the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants. Struck out 3 times. Swings and misses there, 0-2.
And with the going rates in the free agent market, you saw Victor Martinez get 4 for $68 million. What a steal for the Colorado Rockies here, signing Justin Morneau to it. 2-year, $12.5 million deal before last year. All he did in the first year of that contract was go out and win a batting title for the Rockies.
Good return on investment, a batting title for $5 million. Stays alive, 0-2.
Let's go back to the 3rd inning. Just a hanging slider from Fujinami. Justin Morneau doesn't miss those. 3-run bomb to give the Major League Baseball All-Stars a 4-1 cushion.
Just misses outside, 1-2.
Good pitch right there. You saw Chris Capuano kind of grimace after throwing a good heater down and away to a lefty in the top half of the inning.
On the ground. 1, 2. Inning over. Samurai Japan avoids further damage. They trail 4-1 going to the 6th.
Capuano, 5 innings of 4-hit baseball, 1 run. Steady diet, you see right there, a good heater in. Change up down, another one. Then he gets away with one to Matsuda right there. Just a great job. You could tell he was upset with the location of that pitch, but man, did Chris Capuano have a nice series over in Japan. Really threw the ball well. I know he wouldn't say it's an audition for next season, but certainly there's teams watching these games, and he did nothing but raise his stock.
And including the exhibition game, 9 innings, 9 really good innings of 1-run baseball. As Fujinami looks on as well. Coughed up all 4 of those runs thanks to Justin Morneau. An RBI double and a 3-run home run. She gave way to Iwata in the bottom of the 5th. As we move to the top of the 6th inning. Top of the order due up for Samurai Japan. Trailing 4-1. And with their approach for Samurai Japan, you don't get the sense that they're out of this game.
No, they're not going anywhere. Even though they shuffled up the lineup, they're still all-stars up and down Team Samurai Japan's roster.
So Chris Capuano's day is done as he gives way to Rob Wooten of the Milwaukee Brewers, 29-year-old who pitched in 40 games for Milwaukee this year. A 1-4 record and a 4.72 ERA. Yamada leads things off and takes outside. Yamada's 0 for 2. Struck out in the first, grounded out in the third.
Good sinker right there from Wooten. Yamada led all of the MPB in hits, both leagues. Really had a monster season. 29 homers.
This one on the ground. High hop for Longoria. 1 away. Second time we've seen Wooten in this series as he comes in for Chris Capuano. Gave up just the 1 run. It was the RBI double to Tsutsugo. Terrific defense behind Capuano as well as Yasiel Puig, who's got a couple of hits to his credit. This is about as good of a game that the big leaguers have played to this point, at least, and against Samurai Japan.
Yeah, it's been clean, no doubt about it. And then you got the big 3-run bomb from Justin Morneau to kind of give you breathing room and let Capuano go to work. You watch Rob Wooten here. He's not a guy who comes out of the pen that's going to wow you with a big-time fastball. He's got a good 2-seamer, but he only throws his fastball 28% of the time. He's a guy that loves that breaking ball. Will start you early in the count with it, put you away, and kind of use his fastball off that, kind of sneak attack with it.
He pitched in game 2 of this series, an inning and 2/3, gave up a hit and a run. Struck out 2 as Yanagita fights that one off to stay alive.
See right there, little split action. Little excuse me swing from Yanagita.
And it just seems like even though these Samurai Japan hitters, look, they've been struck out before in this series, but even when they get fooled, they're able to just put the bat on the ball somehow and fight them off, stay alive. I've seen a lot of uncomfortable swings, but just to extend at bats and see more pitches.
Yeah, they have a knack. They have a knack for keeping that barrel in the zone a long time. A la Ichiro. Always marveled at his ability to feel like he was running towards first base, yet his bat head was in the zone for such an extended period of time.
Yanagita, a long drive off the wall, fooled Puig, who throws in all the way to third, and it is a 1-out double for Yuki Yanagita. Didn't miss it by much.
There's a lot to love about Yasiel Puig's game, but there are certain things that really make you scratch your head. This being one of them. First rule of thumb is you never want to show your pitcher up by just standing there.
Right.
At least give that courtesy jog back to the wall. Secondly, to be wrong, you better get out of the park. Hits off the top of the wall, and he has to race back to keep Yanagita at second base.
Sometimes he giveth, sometimes he taketh away. Showed you the slick defense for Puig before. And look, that was a double regardless. But I think what it is what you said about showing up your pitcher.
Yeah.
So Seiichi Uchikawa will bat 0 for 2 with a runner in scoring position and 1 out in the 6th.
There's Drew Butera looking to back pick. He had a huge back pick in the exhibition game in the bottom of the 8th. Score was at 8-7. Major League Baseball All-Stars were winning 8-7 in the bottom of the 8th, and him and Ben Zobrist had a huge back pick to get them out of that inning.
Breaking ball misses. 2 balls and 1 strike. What we were talking about, Samurai Japan team not out of this game at all. Sho Nakata is on deck. He homered yesterday. And at the moment, the tying run on deck. So Yanagita had a 3-hit night a couple of nights ago. He's got 2 hits tonight. He's been a little bit feast or famine. It was 3 for 12 coming into the series with 4 RBIs. Had a huge night in game 2 of this series. 3 for 4 with a run scored in those 4 ribbies. And tonight, a single and a double. He's on second base with 1 away. The 3-2 pitch. Longoria looks the runner back, gets the out at first, 2 down.
Good 2-seam fastball right there. From Wooten, chopper off the plate to Longoria. Checks the runner back and makes the easy throw to first.
So that'll bring up Sho Nakata. One of the players that Samurai Japan hopes to build their 2017 World Baseball Classic squad around. Young power hitter who they've said we're just going to stick him in that cleanup spot and let him go. He's played mainly left field in this series, but tonight getting the start at first. He homered yesterday. Now tries to get Samurai Japan a little bit closer here in the 6th.
Major League Baseball All-Star pitchers doing a better job up until this point. Team Samurai Japan only 1 run in their last 10 innings.
That's in there for a called strike. They got a 27 home runs this year with the Nippon Ham Fighters. 100 RBIs. It was their first round pick in 2007. Since then he's collected 106 home runs. Played in the World Baseball Classic in 2013 with 6 for 21 with 2 ribbies. No stranger to the international stage as Matsuda waits on deck.
Yeah, big time power for Nakata. Hit an absolute bullet homer into the left center field bleachers off Jeremy Guthrie.
They'll try Longoria again. Out number 3. So Wooten works out of a little jam in the 6th. We will hear from Evan Longoria as he leads off in the 6th. Sixth inning, better get his sleep while he's in Japan. His wife gave birth to their 2nd child while Evan Longoria was on this trip.
Yeah, I got to see it all on FaceTime, and it was a pretty cool moment. You know, it was a surprise. We didn't know what it was. It's a baby boy, so very happy.
Name?
No name yet. No name yet. So we're gonna wait until the very last minute to decide.
So congratulations to Evan Longoria, who leads things off here in the 6th. Longoria 0 for 2, now 3 for 10 in this series, but also had that grand slam in the exhibition game against the joint team of the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants.
Evan Longoria signed to that long-term deal with the Tampa Bay Rays under team control, signed through 2023.
That's not a 13-year deal.
No. It's certainly not for $320 million.
No, it's not.
But it's a third of it.
Yeah, still big money for easily the face of the Tampa Bay Rays franchise. This one hit in the air to right field. And it's a home run for Evan Longoria. 5-1 Major League All-Stars.
Paul, that's what makes him one of the best players in our sport. Ability to drive the ball out the other way just as easily as he could go pull side for a bomb. You saw in the exhibition game he hit a grand slam to dead center. And tonight he gets a little backdoor breaking ball and murders it to right center field. Looks like a changeup from Iwata. Evan looks so comfortable in the box. I always used to ask him, how are you able to stay that comfortable in the box? Told me he didn't even realize he was doing it. He's being a little humble for me, but say, hey man, I'm trying to pick your brain over here. Give me something. But he can flat rake.
So a new dad for the 2nd time, and he homers to extend it to a 4-run cushion right now in the 6th inning as Carlos Santana grounds out.
There again, just a sweet stroke, taking what's given, getting that front foot down, staying tall, driving down through the baseball. Not too many right-handers in the game got that easy pop to the opposite field like that.
And we've seen him work the other way a lot in this series, or this trip to Japan. He had the home run to right center field. Just one of his 22 home runs went to right field this year. So I don't know if it's something that he's working on consciously or if it's just working out that way. We're talking about using the whole field with Chris Carter before, and Longoria doing so on this trip to Japan. This is among third basemen since 2008. Not bad. First in homers and RBIs, second in walks, and third in hits. And oh, by the way, can play a pretty good defensive third base as well.
You know what that tells me, that graphic? You can have the argument for a lot of guys, but I think it's safe to say Evan Longoria is the best third baseman in baseball.
Without question. Even in a down year for him, too.
Yeah.
Carter goes down for the second time tonight. There are now 2 away here in the 6th.
Here's his teammate Ben Zobrist. Tampa Bay picking up his option, $7.5 million option. That was a no-brainer move for that organization.
I don't think he was expecting to hit right-handed today.
Oh, God. That's a fine.
All right. Well, there you have it. I don't think I have ever seen that before.
Oh, it's happened more than you know. Look, here's Evan Longoria's teammate. He's going to hook him up right here.
Here you go. Yeah. So Zobrist brings a lot of gloves to the field, and obviously a couple different helmets too. It's all right, Ben. The world's watching. No big deal.
You'd think he'd want to know what the right-handed helmet on a lot more, know where that is at all times. He had .340 against left-handed pitching this year.
And ahead to count, 3 balls and 1 strike. Take strike 2. Yeah, with Zobrist and Evan Longoria, it's going to be interesting to see what the Tampa Bay Rays look like going forward. Obviously, Andrew Friedman, Joe Madden moving on to LA and Chicago, respectively. The search for a manager is on in St. Pete. And with all due respect to whoever takes over that job, it's going to be a hard time filling the shoes left by Joe Madden.
It really will be. He was a game changer for that organization. There's no doubt about that. The way he got those young guys to play for him, created such a loose environment. I'm sure he's going to bring all of those attributes to Wrigley Field and the Chicago Cubs. But whoever takes over for Tampa Bay, one thing's rest assured. You got Alex Cobb. You got Chris Archer. You got Matt Moore coming back from Tommy John at some point earlier in the year. And you got Longoria and Zobrist. And you move on, you find a way.
Eduardo Nunez takes low, 1 ball and 1 strike. And for the Rays, so often has been the case in the last, since 2008, I guess. Pitching's been the strength.
Yeah.
And they just ravaged by injuries last year to that pitching staff.
And they need a big year. They need a big year. They made a huge deal when they moved James Shields and Wade Davis to Kansas City for Will Myers. And he dealt with a variety of injuries, missed the majority of the season last year. He needs to be that big right-handed bat. Kind of take some of the pressure off Evan Longoria. I think his numbers were down because of the fact that he didn't have much hitting behind him. Maybe he expands his zone a little bit more. Started chasing some pitches he probably normally wouldn't. So look for Will Myers to come back and have a big year for the Rays.
Played in only 87 games for him last year, hitting 220s. Meanwhile, the guys that he was traded for, Wade Davis and James Shields, big parts of the reason why The Kansas City Royals played the Game 7 of the World Series as Maru puts that one away in center field. Longoria, a solo home run, makes it a 5-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars. Moves where players learn their future, and you'll get it all first on MLB. As Matsuda will lead things off here in the 7th inning. 5, 6, and 7 due up for Samurai Japan, down 5-1. A 3-run home run for Justin Morneau, a solo home run for Evan Longoria. Good to see the Major League All-Star bats finally wake up after a combined no-hitter at the hands of Samurai Japan in Game 3 of this series. All 3 games have gone the way of Samurai Japan to this point. Matsuda doubled and scored in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th. And from accounts, at least from people who matter, the closest comp to Munenori Kawasaki. Heard from Kawasaki before, called him Energy Boy, said that he's just like him.
That's tough to do.
It's tough. Jerry Blevins comes in, the lefty with the Washington Nationals, to pitch in the 7th. He follows Rob Wooten, who pitched in the 6th, and Chris Capuano, who had the first 5 innings. First 5 terrific innings for Chris Capuano. Blevins pitched in 64 games this year for the Washington Nationals and pitched to a .487 ERA.
He was a nice addition to that Washington Nationals bullpen. With him, Tyler Clipper, Drew Storen, list goes on. Knocked out eventually in the NLDS by Madison Bumgarner and the San Francisco Giants.
Weren't they all?
They were all knocked out by Madison.
We've seen Blevins in this series, pitched in Game 2. Pitched the 9th inning. Gave up a hit and a walk, but no damage. Runs wise. 2-2 to Matsuda. In the air, Zobrist moves toward right center field and calls off Puig, one away.
Now, being in the box in my career off Jerry Blevins, he's got a bigger heater than he presents, than the gun will present. Kind of sneaks up on you. Good slider. Neutralizes left-handed hitters. See Setsugu had 2 at bats off Chris Capuano, 2 bullets, 1 a double down the left field line. See how he handles Blevins.
Might have had extra bases the other time if not for Yasiel Puig, who made a terrific lunging play in right field. Line drive, Altuve. Boy, this right side of the field for the Major League All-Stars is taking hits away from Sasugo left and right. Yeah, tip your cap. 2 away in the 7th.
See right here, absolute bullet off the turf. 1 hop to Altuve's right. Gets down on it, little pirouette action. Throw out to first.
Did you like playing on the turf as opposed to natural grass?
No.
No.
Definitely like the grass better.
Why? A little slower?
No, it's just what you're used to. It's just what you grew up playing on. Yeah, usually no bad hops on the turf, but the ball definitely gets on you a heck of a lot quicker.
The 0-1 pitch to Maru just misses inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
3 great ABs by Sasugo.
Yeah.
Good thing it's an exhibition series. You can live with the 1 for 3 when it doesn't
That's right.
totally count.
Looked like Sakamoto was waiting on deck. Could be the pinch hitter for Imamiya. With Samurai Japan down 4 runs in the 7th. And there's a base hit up the middle. And it will in fact be Sakamoto to pinch hit for Imamiya here in the 7th inning. Sakamoto had a home run yesterday as well. He started the game at short in each of the games to this point, given way to Imamiya for defensive purposes late in the games. Those 2 guys switching roles tonight for Hiroki Kikubu's squad. Butera behind the runner at first. Oh, just missed him.
Justin Morneau screaming for replay right now. He thinks he got him.
I've wondered what those conversations are like with I guess with both sides, both teams, with the umpires that they know. Are they a little bit quicker to give the back talk, as it were, to Mike Winters or Chris Conroy, the big leaguers, because they know him, because they've seen him?
Absolutely.
1-0 to Sakamoto. Breaking ball just misses. 2 balls and no strikes.
Good pitch right there. Little backdoor slider. A little bit below the knee, doesn't get the call.
Blevins 2-0. Line drive. Will it hang up? No, it gets down for a base hit in front of Chris Carter. And there's 2 on and 2 out here in the 7th. Fourth hit in 11 trips for Sakamoto in this series.
Just another great AB by Sakamoto. Jerry Blevins trying to go with a fastball away. Nice leg kick. Little line drive to left field. Really swinging the bat well. Like you said earlier, Paul had a big 2-run homer to get Team Samurai Japan going yesterday early off Jeremy Guthrie. Mike Maddox out to talk, calm Jerry Blevins down.
Sakamoto had 16 home runs in the regular season at 279. But in 8 years in Nippon professional baseball, a 281 hitter. He's had as many as over 30 homers in a season before. Showed that power last night. And now continues the 2-out threat against Blevins and the Major League All-Stars here in the 7th.
And as I look at Jerry Blevins toe to slab in that Washington Nationals uniform, I can't help but talk about what I've been seeing in the paper as far as Jordan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond, Denard Span. There's a lot of guys that are going to be in their last year of their contracts. There was some trade rumors circulating about potential fit with the Cubs and Jordan Zimmerman. Ian Desmond had turned down a 7-year extension earlier in the year. See if they revisit that.
Ryosuke Kikuchi is the pinch hitter here with 2 runners aboard and 2 outs here in the top of the 7th. Kikuchi made a terrific play in the top of the 9th inning yesterday. He's made a few nice plays in this series defensively, but a nice play in the 9th to help preserve that no-hitter. Now looking for a big hit to get Samurai Japan a bit closer. This one toward left center field. Zobrist back. Took him a second to find it, but he puts it away. So 2 runners stranded in the 7th inning. Major League All-Stars a 5-1 lead.
Yasiel Puig hit a bullet in the left center gap, followed by Justin Morneau. Traded places with him, and then the third, Justin Morneau giving him big breathing room with a 3-run bomb. And then the bottom of the 6th, Devin Longoria, right center, opposite field bomb.
It's I guess I can speak for anybody who's been watching these games. It's about time. This Major League All-Star offense was hitting 103 with 4 runs on 9 hits coming in. And in game 4, 5 runs on 8 hits and 5 extra base hits. They had only 4 extra base hits in the first 3 games combined. But the offense has come to life. Perhaps too little too late, though. And I say that because while it's not necessarily a best-of-5 series where they just shut it down once a team wins 3, it's still a 5-game series, and the winner of the series gets the bulk of the prize money. So Japan has already secured a series win, with the rest of game 4, game 5 still to come, and then one more exhibition game on November 20th at the Okinawa Cellular Stadium. So a combined no-hitter against the Major League All-Stars. Basically reaching bottom when it comes to offense. I guess sounds a little harsh knowing that these guys have flown across the globe to the other side of the world, and maybe jet lag is kicking in. They're trying their best to take in all the sights and sounds of Japan. Traveling to different cities. Started in at Koshien Stadium, and they played in Osaka. Now 3 games at the Tokyo Dome, so there's some travel involved too. But they finally have the bats going here in Game 4, up 5-1 in the bottom of the 7th inning. As Drew Butera fouls that one back 0-1.
It's the third at bat. Drew Butera has swung at the first pitch. All fastballs trying to ambush.
Swing and a miss. 0-2. Defensive changes for Samurai Japan. In fact, there's 2 of them. Sakamoto takes over at short, and Ito behind the plate.
Good hard slider right there by Takeda.
Butera swings over the top of that off-speed pitch, and there's 1 away.
One thing we learned early about Takeda, he's got a nasty wipeout 12-6 curveball. And that's the thing with the MLB All-Stars. I'm sure they have scouting reports, and I'm sure Drew Butera was made aware of the fact that Takeda likes his breaking ball with 2 strikes. But until you've been in the box and seen the depth and the revolution and how hard he throws it at, you're really flying blind up there sometimes.
Yeah, even if you don't have a scouting report, sometimes it's just tough to gauge these guys. That's Jose Altuve, the leadoff hitter today. A couple of hits to his credit. Takes upstairs 1-0. Altuve toward the gap in right center field. Maru gives chase. It gets down. And extra bases for Jose Altuve with 1 out here in the 7th.
Just adding on to the 47 doubles he had during the regular season for the Houston Astros. Fastball right in the middle of the plate, little up. Jose Altuve drives it to right center for his 3rd knock. 69 multi-hit games this year.
Led the majors with 24 3-hit games, and that's what he's got tonight. I guess you don't get to 225 hits with a bunch of one-fers. Yasiel Puig is next. Nice job by Ito to keep it in front of him.
Top 3 hitters, Altuve, Puig, and Morneau coming into this at bat 8 for 10.
Puig 3 hits, a double in the 1st inning, came around to score on the Justin Morneau RBI double. A double in the 3rd, came around on Morneau's 3-run home run, and singled in the 5th. And he's a guy who's logged a lot of innings here in Japan. We mentioned it before, just 2 everyday outfielders for John Farrell's club, Yasiel Puig and Dexter Fowler. Fowler has gotten the night off, at least to this point. I would think, and I'm not John Farrell or his coaching staff, but I would think Yasiel Puig may get a breather at some point soon.
know, and that's the problem with a flawed roster. Sometimes there are guys who are not going to be afforded the opportunity to get off their feet. Technically, only two true outfielders on this roster with Dexter Fowler and Yasiel Puig. You have Ben Zobrist, man, in center field tonight, normally a second baseman. Chris Carter, normally a DH, playing left field, and Lucas Duda, who's on the bench, started at first base for the Mets, but we've seen him in the outfield as well throughout the course of this series.
And already playing a little bit light-handed with Robinson Cano out 3 to 4 weeks. Non-displaced fracture in his toe. I think it'd be a little tough to add somebody to the roster at this point. Right?
Why don't you fly over and meet us tomorrow?
Yeah.
For 2 games.
You're starting. Takeda's 2-2 pitch to Puig in the dirt.
They could always add Munenori Kawasaki.
That's right. He's around. Big leaguer. He's already there.
He's there.
You should petition for that.
I'm sure Ichiro's there. He'd probably throw out a 4-hit game for us.
Yeah, right. The payoff pitch to Yasiel Puig with Altuve off of second stays alive. Putting together a good at-bat against a guy he probably doesn't know much about. Once again, the 3-2 pitch, and once again fouled off.
Another guy, I know these games are taking place right now, but you can't help think about the Major League offseason, teams' needs, and who they're going to pick up in free agency, what trades are going to be made. You hear the Dodgers floating outfielders' names out there: Matt Kemp, Carl Crawford, Andre Ethier. The arrival of Jock Peterson. One guy who will be staying put in right field is number 66. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of options. I mean, Scott Van Slyke was good at times too.
Scott Van Slyke was great at times.
Nice problem to have, I guess.
Matt Kemp finally healthy in the second half. Went back to superstar form.
Again, the 3-2 pitch on the ground, left side. Matsuda gets the out at first, and Altuve advances to third.
Nice play by Matsuda, ranging to his left. He's had a couple tough chances. See right here, Takeda, good curveball down. Yasiel does a nice job of putting good wood on this ball. But Matsuda, again, ranging to his left, makes a nice play.
Ito, the new catcher this half inning. I think I shortchanged you on a couple defensive changes. Nakata is now in left as he moves from first to left. Yamada moves from second to first. Kikuchi stays in the game to play second base. Justin Morneau's had himself a big night after hitting just 1 for 12 coming into this ball game. A couple of hits, including a double and a home run, 4 RBIs, and another one sitting 90 feet away. Just misses.
Trying to throw that little backdoor cutter right there. A little bit too outside.
Morneau not in love with that call. The count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Big 12-6 curveball, about 6 inches outside, but gets the call. Put Justin Morneau in a hole. 1-2.
Be a 1-2 pitch to Justin Morneau. Fights it off. So Shota Takeda is 3-3 this year with a 1.87 ERA in 9 games and 9 starts with the SoftBank Hawks. Trying to work this 7th inning and keep it a 5-1 deficit. Wow. Nice block by Ito behind the plate. Threw that one about 47 feet.
Looked like he got a circle change, split type grip right there, almost catches.
Just under the mask of Ito.
Almost catches him right in the throat. Got to think he'd call another pitch. If I'm hitting, I'm going to say he's not throwing that same pitch.
The 2-2 to Morneau. Just missed it. Right center field going back. Kikuchi. And puts it away for out number 3. So a 5-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars as we go to the 8th. Major League Baseball at MLB.com/shop for the largest selection of authentic caps, t-shirts, hoodies, collectibles, and more. Get your gear straight from the source. MLB.com/shop. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. A 5-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars, looking for their first win in this Japan All-Star Series. They beat the split squad of the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants, but have yet to beat Samurai Japan. As Genji Akamine will pinch hit to lead things off here in the 8th. Pinch hitting for Tetsudo Yamada, who was 0 for 3. First pitch swinging against Tommy Hunter. Hunter this year with the Baltimore Orioles, 60 2/3 innings pitched and a 2.97 ERA.
Yeah, with Tommy, you're going to see the typical four-seam power arm. 95.1 mile an hour fastball, average velocity. It's also got a cut fastball. And then more of a slurve type breaking ball.
This one's hit in the air. Right field sends Puig back and puts it away for out number 1. If you remember the beginning of the season, Tommy Hunter was the closer out of spring training for the Baltimore Orioles. Got out of the gates with an ERA over 6 and subsequently lost that role.
Yeah, originally broke into the big leagues with the Texas Rangers as a starter. Moved over in a trade to the Baltimore Orioles. Like you said, started the season as a closer. Has a tendency to give up the long ball because he attacks hitters with that four-seam fastball. If he leaves it up, he can get beat. But then kind of worked into almost a hybrid role for Buck Showalter's bullpen. With him and Andrew Miller, Zach Britton, Darren O'Day. See right here, Tommy Hunter gets Howie Kendrick. There's more of that slurvy action. Another one to Paul Konerko right there. And George Springer. Four-seam fastball right by him.
And he missed a little time on the DL with a groin strain, but after he came back, he was pitching to a sub-2 ERA. Not sure if the injury was playing into those early struggles or not, but once he got back, he was really good. To your point about that Baltimore Orioles bullpen, which is one of the reasons why the Orioles were able to make it to the American League Championship Series.
Yeah, absolutely. And Buck Showalter is one of the greatest managers in the game at running a bullpen, having a feel for matchups. What a trade. They got Tommy Hunter and Chris Davis in a trade from Baltimore, originally for Koji Uehara, who is now the closer for the Boston Red Sox, just into a 2-year, $18 million deal.
Third hit of the day for Yuki Yanagita, and he's aboard with 1 out here in the top of the 8th inning.
Just a challenge four-seam fastball up in the zone. Yanagita's had a big night.
He's had 2 3-hit games in this series. And he leads off first with 1 away in the top of the 8th. Seiichi Uchikawa steps in, 0 for 3.
Waiting for this guy to get into one. He's kind of had a slow series. Monster statistics, credentials, 6-time All-Star, multiple batting champ.
It might be a bit early, but just to finish that point on Buck Showalter, I'd like to place my vote for the 2024 Manager of the Year, because he won in '94, won in '04, and he won in 2014. So I'll be the first to say it. In 10 years, Buck's my guy.
That's a pretty safe bet.
He'll be 68, but I think he'll still be kicking.
Oh, he will definitely still be manager. And he's evolved with the times, Buck.
Yeah.
He really has. Broke in originally as more of a stern leader of men. And as the game's gotten younger, he's kind of evolved. His team loves playing for him. The guys gravitate towards Buck, really play hard for him. It's shown his time in Baltimore. He's resurrected that team.
Line drive to Puig and right. Puts it away for out number 2. Is he on the managerial wheel of D-Row?
He should be. My manager in 2005, 2006 with the Texas Rangers.
It's a big wheel.
I didn't realize how many players. 511 players have come across in some form or fashion in my career.
It's a a lot of phone numbers.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Sho Nakata will step in with 2 away here at the top of the 8th inning. Nakata, who's got big time home run power, homered yesterday, but 0 for 3 to this point. Broken bat, base hit left field.
Good pitch by Tommy Hunter right there. Got in on Nakata, sawed him off, broken bat, but falls in for a base hit.
And just as I was thinking it, he dumped one into left field. They would really like to, for as hard as it would be, retire Nakata, because you get the sense that the last guy that you want to face is Nobuhiro Matsuda, who has had a big series to this point. Doubled and scored back in the 2nd inning. And now he's up with 2 on and 2 out in the top of the 8th in a 4-run ball game. He's got the power to do something, and if he does, that'll really change the complexion of this one. Tommy Hunter trying to keep it at a 5-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars as they're in search of their first win in this Japan All-Star Series.
You need guys like this on your roster. Beat to a different drum. Their energy level is through the roof. Get the guys going in the clubhouse, on the bench. Always keeping everybody on their toes. Seems like Matsuda's the ringleader of Team Samurai Japan.
Speaking of rings, he's got 2 of them. 2014, 2011 Japan Series champion with the SoftBank Hawks. .276 career hitter in 9 seasons with SoftBank.
One of my ex-teammates on the Wheel of Dero, Matt Merton, has gone over to Japan last couple years and turned himself into a star over there.
Well, a number of players have gone to Japan and tried to get back on track. Casey McGee, obviously the latest
comeback
example.
Of the year.
Yeah. Other guys maybe toward the end of their career, a Kevin Youkilis type, Andrew Jones.
Yes.
Just going over there, maybe no big league jobs to be had, but they know that they could still play at a high level.
Matt Merton hit .338 last year.
And even yesterday's starting pitcher for the Major League All-Stars, Jeremy Guthrie, who's a 4th-generation Japanese-American, was actually able to meet some family members that he had never met before on this trip to Japan. He's even said openly that he'd like to play in Nippon professional baseball before it's all said and done. A big strikeout for Tommy Hunter, leaving 2 on base. And it's 5-1 going to the last of the 8th at the Tokyo Dome.
So
Japan All-Star Series moves to the 8th inning. Bottom of the 8th inning at the Tokyo Dome, as the Major League All-Stars have a 5-1 lead. So if you're watching Hot Stove in the Morning, that's where you'll see the Wheel of D-Row. If you haven't heard about it, Mark, please explain.
No, I'm getting overexposed. I don't like the idea personally. Well, in my 16 seasons in the big leagues, I played basically everywhere, coast to coast, for 8 different teams. And I guess over the course of my journeys, had played with over 500 players. So the premise is you spin the Wheel of D-Row, whatever team it lands on in that year, you got to name as many guys on that roster.
Right. I think Casey McGee did a number on it the other day. I think he set a new record, didn't he?
Casey McGee, and another former teammate with the Chicago Cubs. Unbelievable what he was able to do this year. Coming back, batting 4th behind Giancarlo Stanton, winning NL Comeback Player of the Year.
Evan Longoria, who homered back in the 6th, takes ball 2. Longoria 1 for 3. A couple of ground outs prior to that solo home run. We also could consider the 500+ teammates. That was just during like the regular season, postseason. But you also are on the 2009 World Baseball Classic roster. So
yeah,
that probably added some more players that you shared a clubhouse with for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, so I get to say Derek Jeter was a teammate.
Yeah.
Evan Longoria was on 2009. Oh, flashback. Little triple right there in the WBC, playing a little left field. What an honor it was to be on that roster, never being a part of an all-star team, never being fortunate enough to have a good enough first half with the likes of Chase Utley playing my position every year. What an opportunity to be in that locker room and to play when we were knocked out in the semifinals at Dodger Stadium by Team Japan. Daisuke Matsuzaka and Yu Darvish, Ichiro, all those guys. Great opportunity.
And now this version of Samurai Japan, from what we're hearing, a number of these guys, kind of that next generation of Japanese stars that will be back in the World Baseball Classic in 2017. One of the reasons why they wanted to hold this and basically reignite this Japan All-Star Series. We hadn't seen it since 2006. And of course, the first year of the World Baseball Classic, but now as Samurai Japan gears up for that, let's see where they stack up against a roster full of big leaguers.
Not only from a pitching perspective, but some of the position players. You see right here, Carlos Santana, nice base hit to right field. A lot of the position players up and down the roster for Team Samurai Japan look like they could come over and be inserted right into everyday roles in the big leagues.
Heard a lot about Sho Nakata. I know you're a big fan of Seiichi Uchikawa. Yoshito Itoi, who's played plenty of right field, although at least to this point getting the night off. Won the Pacific League batting title in 2014.
I still believe tomorrow's starter, Shohei Ohtani, if not for Kenta Maeda maybe getting posted, we might see that young man over here sooner rather than later. Only 20 years old, already a two-time All-Star of the MPB.
Be an 0-1 pitch to Chris Carter. Fights that one off. Hey, Ohtani will go in Game 5 against Matt Shoemaker. And guys with 10 or more wins, 10 or more home runs in a single season in professional baseball history. That's a short list, ladies and gentlemen. That's a short list. He almost out-homered Babe Ruth
You share that list with arguably the greatest player who ever wore a uniform.
Jeez. And Ohtani, we saw him the other night. It's going to be nice for Hiroki Kikobu to go to Ohtani, the youngster, in Game 5. Knowing that Samurai Japan has already secured a win in this series. And he'll be a lot of fun to watch. We saw him for an inning earlier in this series, and he was impressive in just that short span. I think it's fair to say he'll be a tough test for the Major League All-Star team.
I think the Japanese fans right here need to see how far Chris Carter can actually hit a baseball.
Got a good pitch to do some damage. The 3-1. Swing and a miss. 3-2.
Good tight slider down and away. See the revolutions on that ball pick up.
Chris Carter will take ball 4, and this guy did a ton of damage after July 1st. Most home runs in baseball with 24, second most RBIs. Part of the reason why he finished with the second most homers throughout the course of the season in 37. The Houston Astros trying to turn things in the right direction. I think 2014 was easily a good step forward for them, despite the fact that they had to fire a manager along the way.
Absolutely, a lot of good things happening for the Houston Astros. Just naming A.J. Hinch their new manager. Hey, when you got a Jose Altuve on your team who's throwing out 69 multi-hit games, Chris Carter with 37 homers, just kind of figuring out who he is as a hitter. Catching depth with Jason Castro. But it always comes down to the arms on the mound. Can they keep you in the game? Last year they shocked everybody with the huge signing of Scott Feldman.
So they got Mark Appel waiting in the wings.
Carlos Correa. Get a full season out of George Springer, Jonathan Singleton. So there's a lot to be excited about.
Jumped up 19 wins this year in 2014 from 51 to 70 as they inch closer to that 500 mark. Ben Zobrist 0 for 2, walked back in the 6th. Takes outside 2 balls and 1 strike. You were kind of that Ben Zobrist type, right, for that WBC team back in 09? Had to play a lot of positions, seeing as it's tough to get everyday players at every position to come over.
That was kind of the whole makeup of my career, trying to be that Ben Zobrist type player. Came up from the minors as a shortstop, but Rafael Furcal burst on the scene late 90s, early 2000s, and kind of changed the whole direction of my career. I always felt if you can hit, and you go back to what your father tells you, if you hit, they'll find a spot for you. Always kind of hung my hat on that and tried to have tough at bats and be a good offensive player, and wherever they put me in the field kind of didn't really matter.
3-1 pitch to Zobrist upstairs, ball 4, and Takeda has now walked the bases loaded. There's 1 out here in the 8th.
Oh, this is a little love session on me.
Yeah. Did you cut all this stuff?
I don't know. All I'm seeing is a lot of different uniforms.
What do they say? You get your name in the book, right? With 100 home runs?
You know what, Paul? That number, I'll never forget running around the bases. It came off Dallas Keuchel in 2013. Hurt my wrist at the end of 2009. Never thought I'd hit another homer. I was kind of stuck on that 92, 93 number. And just, you hit 100 homers in the big leagues. I always felt like that was a meaningful number. Just glad I was able to get to that.
Eduardo Nunez takes a called strike on the breaking ball, 0-1.
I think the beauty of Ben Zobrist, though, in comparison to what I was kind of able to do, he plays some premium positions, can still run it out there at shortstop. And you see tonight handling center field, going back on balls. It's kind of the separator for him.
He's already played left, center, and second in his time in Japan. Only 34 games in his career in center field coming into tonight. Those are regular season
switch
hitter
games, of course.
Yeah, if there's one knock on him, it's just that he doesn't know what helmet to wear when he is switch hitting. Bases loaded, 1 out in the 8th. Nunez on the ground. Kikuchi gets there. They'll get the out at first, but a run will score, and it's 6-1 Major Leaguers.
Little tack on run right there for Eduardo Nunez. Going to be tough to double him up anyway. He gets down the line pretty good.
So Carlos Santana, who got his first hit in this series after going 0 for 8, comes in to score on the RBI ground out. Chris Carter at third, Ben Zobrist at second, with 2 away here in the 8th. Drew Butera, first pitch swinging. Behind home plate. Ito has room, puts it away. Well, the Major League All-Stars on the doorstep of their first victory in the Japan All-Star Series. Can they finish off Samurai Japan?
This holiday season.
All-Star Series continues through next week. See Altuve and Longoria lead an All-Star Major League cast against the best Japan has to offer. See the next game live Tuesday, 5 a.m. Eastern Time from the Sapporo Dome in Japan. Again, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. And primetime replays at 9, only on MLB Network. In the Tokyo Dome, a 6-1 lead for the Major League All-Stars as we move to the top of the 9th inning. Paul Severino with Mark DeRosa. Big leaguers looking for their first victory in this Japan All-Star Series. They did beat the Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants in the Japanese Professional Baseball 80th anniversary game, but that does not count toward the Japan All-Star Series, so it's 3-0 Samurai Japan. They have already secured a series victory for the first time since 1990, and they did so with a combined no-hitter last night. The Major Leaguers quick to get in the hit column in Game 4. as they did so in the second hitter of the night. First pitch swinging. Drew Butera makes the catch. Nice job by Butera to range over toward the dugout and retire Yoshio Itoi, the pinch hitter, on just one pitch.
That's a great play by Drew Butera right there. Sliding on his shin guards. Over the shoulder grab. One out in the ninth. Mark Melanson's in the game from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Had 33 saves this year. Attacks you with 3 to 4 pitch arsenal. Good four-seam fastball, cutter. Say that a lot, cut fastball. That's become the new in vogue pitch. Good slider, big curveball as well.
Third lowest ERA in the last 3 seasons for Mark Melancon. Or last 2 seasons, rather, for Mark Melancon.
And he was a godsend for Pittsburgh Pirates and Clint Hurdle this year. Kind of was that 8th inning guy in 2013 with Jason Grilli having such an all-star type season. And then Jason Grilli got off to such a slow start. They ended up moving him for Ernesto Frieri to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Melancon just stepped right into that closer's role and took off.
And 2 quick outs on just 4 pitches here in the ninth as Maru is retired. And there are 2 away. So Melancon obviously finding a home with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bounced around from the Yankees to the Astros to the Red Sox. And with Boston in 2012, pitched to a 6.20 ERA in 41 games. But turned it around quickly, was an all-star in 2013, and finished with a 1.39 earned run average. And Sakamoto takes a called strike. Those 33 saves this season. Kind of the default closer for John Farrell's bunch, even though it's not a save situation. With an off day tomorrow, they can throw him out there. Doesn't have to worry about going to back-to-back days.
See right there the tight spin. That's his cutter right there. Sakamoto's on everything. He's looked good. Went deep yesterday. Came off the bench today for a bullet to left field.
I think you're right on, too. I don't have a scout's eye. I don't pretend to have a scout's eye, but I'm with you when you say a lot of these guys could come over to the major leagues.
Absolutely. Especially with the lack of offense, everybody trying to hit home runs, the strikeouts being up, and the shifts, and guys having to make adjustments. If anything we've seen with Team Japan is that pass the baton mentality.
Well, it's the first victory in the Japan All-Star Series for the Major League All-Stars as they finish off a 6-1 victory here in Game 4. So they head into the off day, the travel day, to the Sapporo Dome. Finally feeling good about themselves. This was a much-needed victory for this club after a long trip. They needed a game like this.
Yeah, and I think what helped is, first off, hats off to Chris Capuano. Came out again and dealt. Had command of both sides of the plate, really looked good, and then the offense exploded, especially the top of the order with the 3-run homer from Justin Morneau, but getting them going in the first with back-to-back doubles with Puig and Morneau to kind of give them a chance to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, Altuve had 3 hits. Puig had 3 hits. Justin Morneau with 2 hits, including 4 RBIs, an RBI double, and a 3-run home run to get the Major League All-Stars their first victory in this Japan All-Star Series. They know they won't win it at this point, but at least a victory before they get out of town in Tokyo. On behalf of all of us here at MLB Network, thanks for joining us for our coverage of the 2014 Japan All-Star Series. Games, of course, continuing through November 20th. For Mark DeRosa and our entire crew, I'm Paul Severino saying goodbye from Tokyo. We will see you next time. A 6-1 victory for the Big League All-Stars. See you next time.